Welcome to Informed Tourist. I'm Curtis, your traveling guru. Have you ever been warned not to visit a place? Maybe a friend, a taxi driver, or even a headline told you to stay away. That seed of doubt, danger, risk makes most people turn back. But what if those warnings are invitations in disguise? This is the story of a place locals told me to avoid at all costs. They whispered about danger, about tourists who vanished, about stray dogs watching with suspicion. So, what did I do? I packed my bags and went anyway. My goal wasn't just to ignore advice, it was to understand it. Why do some places get such dark reputations? Is it real danger, or something deeper? Fear spreads faster than facts. One incident, amplified by rumor, can blacklist a whole region for decades. This trip was my chance to peel back those layers of fear. Stay with me, there's a travel secret at the end that will change how you see the world. You'll learn when to heed warnings, and when to push past them for something unforgettable. This isn't just about one town, it's about reading the hidden language of travel. Let's begin. Curtis grabs his bag, determined. Quick montage, headlines, worried faces, Curtis boarding a bus. The journey starts now. Why are we drawn to forbidden places? The pull of the unknown is powerful. For me, it was a sun-beaten coastal town in southern Mexico, always spoken of in hushed, wary tones. The perfect place to test my theory. Sometimes, the best stories hide behind the scariest doors. So, I went. I'm not saying you should ignore all warnings, but guidebooks often exaggerate. Many dangerous places are statistically safer than big cities at night. The places we're told to fear might just be misunderstood. I arrived in the afternoon determined to separate myth from reality. The sun was relentless, the air thick with salt and drying fish nets. The first thing I noticed, silence. As I walked from the bus stop, an old man at a cafe watched me. No words. Just a look. You don't belong. It wasn't hostility. It was something else. In that silent exchange, I knew this trip would be different. Curtis walks on, the town quiet around him. The adventure had truly begun. Every traveler knows the warning, don't go there. For me, these warnings are a siren's call, a sign a place has a story. This Mexican town was wrapped in rumor and legend. Some said it was cursed, others whispered about cartels, but the most common tale. Tourists disappear here, not dramatically, just quietly gone. These stories built an invisible wall around the town. Naturally, I had to see for myself. Fear is often a distorted echo. One bad event becomes a monstrous legend. Were the warnings to protect visitors, or to shield the town from outsiders? I needed to find out. True adventure begins where the comfort zone ends. Many places are unfairly maligned by rumor. My journey wasn't about seeking danger, but truth. What secrets was this community protecting? I was about to find out. If you're enjoying this, subscribe to Informed Tourist. Now, back to the story. This is where the warnings felt real. My arrival was like stepping onto a movie set after the cameras stopped. The main street was empty, shadows long, silence tense. Locals paused to watch me, no hostility, just heavy, unwavering stares. I checked into a faded blue guest house. The owner barely spoke, handed me a key and pointed to my room. No welcome, no questions, just a transaction. The message, you're tolerated, not welcome. My room was silent, broken only by distant waves. That evening I explored, hoping to break the ice. As dusk fell, the streets stayed empty, but I felt eyes watching from behind shuttered windows. Every house had hand-painted symbols above the doors. Eyes, patterns, wards. Were they to keep something out or in? The warnings weren't just gossip. The town's secrets pressed in from every side. The first to speak was an old fisherman by the docks at sunset. I asked about dinner. He replied, "We don't get many tourists here." I told him people warned me not to come. He laughed, a sound like rocks tumbling. He pointed to the sea. The sea has a long memory. It doesn't like strangers. He told me about a freak storm 5 years ago, half the fleet lost, several men dead, just after disrespectful tourists partied on a sacred beach. Since then, locals believed outsiders brought bad luck, angering the ocean spirits. The warnings weren't about crime, they were about superstition, trauma, and a deep connection to nature. I wasn't in danger of violence, but of being seen as a bad omen. The fisherman's conviction was unsettling, but it was my first real clue. The town's fear was rooted in tragedy, not malice. As I left the docks, I realized the mystery was more complex than I'd thought. Curtis walks away, thoughtful. The truth was deeper than rumor. The real story was just beginning. That night, the silence was suffocating. No tourists, no music, no life, just the echo of my footsteps. Every storefront was dark, but behind the glass, murals watched, eyes, sea monsters, weary saints. This was a gallery of fear and faith, a community bound by shared trauma. The fisherman's story wasn't just his, it was the town's collective truth. I felt like an intruder, a disruption in their fragile peace. The warnings weren't about hate, they were about protecting something precious. The silence was full of unspoken stories, ghosts of the storm. I was walking through a living memorial. My goal had been to debunk a myth, but the truth was more complicated. This wasn't about danger or safety, it was about a community's way of coping. I was no longer just an observer, I was part of their story. Curtis looks up at the starry sky, reflective. Sometimes, the real risk is misunderstanding what people are truly trying to protect. The journey had changed me, and maybe it will change you too. We're about to go deeper down this rabbit hole, so stick around. My travel secret is almost here. Guidebooks can't show you the real heartbeat of a place. I found Mateo, a local who knew the town's true story. He led me through hidden alleys and secret paths tourists never see. We explored ruins, cemeteries, and the soul of the town. Through Mateo, I saw pride, resilience, and a fierce love for home. The warnings? They're not threats, they're cultural armor. As we sat on a low wall overlooking the churning sea, I finally asked Mateo the question that had been burning in my mind. Why all the warnings? Why does everyone want people like me to stay away? He looked out at the horizon, letting the salty wind blow through his hair, and was silent for a long moment before answering. The warnings, he said, turning to me with a serious expression, they are a filter, they keep the wrong kind of people out. That one sentence landed with the force of a tidal wave, completely changing my understanding of everything. It wasn't about danger, it was about preservation. Mateo explained that years ago before the storm, their town had been discovered. A travel blogger had written a viral article calling it Mexico's last hidden paradise. For one summer, the town was overrun. Tourists flocked in, treating the sacred beaches like a spring break destination, leaving behind mountains of trash, disrespecting local customs, and haggling over prices with fishermen who were already struggling. They brought noise, chaos, and a sense of entitlement that eroded the town's quiet dignity. The community felt like their home was being consumed. The storm, in a tragic and devastating way, had been their reset button. After the destruction, the tourists stopped coming. The town had a chance to heal, not just from the physical damage, but from the cultural invasion. The stories of curses and bad luck began to circulate, at first as a genuine expression of their grief and fear, but then as something more. They became a tool, an unspoken agreement among the locals to protect their sanctuary. The warnings were a test. Those who were easily scared off were the ones they didn't want anyway. That's when it finally hit me with an undeniable clarity. This town wasn't off limits because it was unsafe for tourists. It was off limits because tourists had proven to be unsafe for it. The locals weren't trying to protect me from their town. They were trying to protect their town from me, or more accurately, from what I represented. The influx of outsiders had threatened to turn their home into a commodity, a backdrop for selfies, another hidden gem ruined by its own discovery. The eerie silence and the watchful eyes were not aggression, they were a defense mechanism. What if some no-go zones aren't danger zones at all? What if they are sanctuaries, misunderstood, misrepresented, and desperately trying to stay that way? This is why Informed Tourist exists. We dig deeper to understand the why behind the warnings, to tell the story, without destroying the magic. We aim to be the right kind of people. The warnings were not a wall, but a gate, and the key was respect. Have you ever felt a story click into place where all the confusing pieces suddenly form a coherent picture? That's what happened as the sun set on my day with Mateo. The town, once eerie, now felt welcoming. The watchful eyes on the walls became guardians, not threats. I was no longer the outsider. My curiosity and willingness to listen had quietly passed their test. Mateo's invitation to dinner was a true crossing of a threshold. Around the table, I learned, these people weren't hostile, they were protective, waiting for those who truly wanted to connect. The dinner at Mateo's home wasn't just a meal, it was an initiation. Every recipe had a story, every tradition a purpose. The townspeople respected the sea, guarding a delicate balance between their lives and the ocean. I watched fishermen at dawn, their movements a dance, passed down through generations. Mateo's grandfather sat beside me on the dock, sharing his story in silence. That moment bridged the gap between myth and reality, turning guardedness into welcome. Sometimes, the toughest exteriors hide the most fragile hearts. Earning trust is travel's greatest privilege. So here it is, the special reward I promised you at the beginning of this journey. This is the secret I learned in that misunderstood town, the key to knowing when to heed a local warning and when to respectfully push forward. It's a simple but powerful framework that has changed the way I travel, allowing me to navigate the complex world of local advice. It's not about being reckless, it's about being discerning. It's about learning to read the subtext of a warning and understanding the motivation behind the fear, because that is where the true story lies. First, if a local warns you about a tangible, verifiable risk, things like active political unrest, high crime rates in a specific area, dangerous wildlife, or severe weather conditions, you must listen. These warnings are based on immediate safety concerns, and no photograph, no experience, and no story is worth risking your life or well-being. This is practical advice meant to protect you from harm. This is the time to be cautious, to change your plans, and to thank the person for looking out for you. This is the non-negotiable part of being a smart, informed tourist. But then there's the other kind of warning, the one I encountered in Mexico. If the caution comes from a place of superstition, cultural pride, or a desire for preservation, this is not a stop sign. It is an invitation to proceed with a different kind of awareness. This warning is not about your physical safety, it's about the community's emotional and cultural safety. This is where the most profound and transformative travel experiences are hiding. They are tucked away behind layers of folklore, historical trauma, and a fierce protective love of home. This is your cue to slow down, not turn back. When you encounter this second type of warning, your approach must change. You must lead with humility, respect, and an authentic curiosity. Ask questions, but listen more than you speak. Show that you are there to understand, not to conquer or consume. This is the gray area where true connection happens, the space between the stark, do not enter, and the hollow, welcome. Mastering the ability to tell these two types of warnings apart is the secret. It's the balance between being cautious and being closed-minded, between being curious and being careless. The final evening of my stay, I stood on that same stretch of beach where the infamous tourist party had supposedly angered the sea spirits. The sun was setting, painting the sky in fiery strokes of orange and purple. The fishermen were pulling in their final nets of the day, their silhouettes dark against the glittering water. A group of children laughed as they chased crabs along the shoreline. The scene was peaceful, vibrant, and deeply human. I hadn't found the danger I was warned about. Instead, I had found a community that was raw, real, and unapologetically protective of its home. I realized that my initial mission, to debunk a myth, had been entirely wrong. I had come looking for a simple answer, a black or white verdict, on whether the town was safe or dangerous. But the truth was a complex tapestry of color, woven from threads of history, grief, pride, and resilience. The real reward of this journey wasn't just a great story or a secret travel tip. The real reward was a fundamental shift in my own perspective. I had learned that every warning, every piece of folklore, tells a story about the people who tell it. The ultimate lesson was this: our job as travelers is not to judge the validity of these stories, but to understand what they reveal. A story about a vengeful sea spirit isn't really about a mythical creature. It's a story about a community's profound respect for nature and their trauma from losing loved ones to its power. A warning about disappearing tourists isn't necessarily a threat of violence. It's a story about a town's fear of losing its identity to the homogenizing force of mass tourism. These warnings are not just cautionary tales, they are cultural artifacts. It is up to us, the travelers, to decide how we interpret these stories. We can see them as a threat, a reason to stay away and reinforce the fear. Or, we can see them as an invitation to dig deeper, to ask better questions, and to engage with a place on a more meaningful level. The choice is ours to make with every journey we take. As I packed my bags to leave, the farewell felt different from my tense arrival. The guest house owner hugged me and made me promise to return. Mateo's grandfather pressed a carved stone fish into my hand, a charm for safe travels. I arrived as a stranger, but left as a friend. Travel isn't about collecting stamps or photos, but moments of connection and understanding. The town hadn't changed, but I had. The greatest travel secret: see the world differently, with respect, humility, and an open heart. Every traveler faces crossroads, one path safe, the other marked with warnings. The key is knowing which warnings signal real danger and which are about respecting local culture. Hard warnings, like natural disasters or crime, mean stop. Soft warnings, rooted in tradition, invite you to slow down, listen, and learn. Understanding the difference is your compass. Respect both, and you'll unlock the world's most meaningful experiences. When you sense a soft warning but choose to proceed, remember, respectful intrusion is an art. Move slowly, speak softly, and blend in. Shed the tourist mindset, watch, listen, and engage with humility. Sometimes a simple "buenos dias" or a genuine compliment means more than money. Know when to accept no. The goal isn't to conquer every place but to approach each one with grace and respect. Travel isn't about perfect beaches or seamless experiences. The real magic happens when you embrace the messiness, the challenges, and the stories behind every warning sign. Ask yourself, are you here to consume or to connect? Your answer shapes your journey, unlocking doors to genuine connection or leaving them closed. As my journey in that coastal town ended, I stood on the same beach, no longer a stranger. The fisherman's sunset ritual felt beautiful, not foreboding. I found a fiercely protective community and a deeper sense of purpose as a traveler. The real adventure is navigating the landscapes of human culture, crossing borders of fear and misunderstanding. I left not as a skeptic but as a believer in the power of community. Some warnings aren't barriers, they're invitations to a deeper journey. This experience solidifies our mission at Informed Tourist, to go beyond headlines and hearsay, to find the human story at the heart of every destination. Travel can be a bridge between cultures, but only with intention and respect. Every warning holds an invitation to be a different kind of traveler. Ask why, dig deeper, look for the story behind the warning. Thank you for watching Informed Tourist. Please like and subscribe. Travel with an open mind.